This signature model never saw official release. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. That's right, we've got a real mystery here today. This is a failed Trent Reznor signature model. And if you're not familiar with who Trent Reznor is, he's the Nine Inch Nails frontman and main guy. So let's dive into the history about these very unique guitars. In 2013, Gibson Memphis came out with a really cool, radical idea of a 339 and 335 studio model. It wasn't like the studio models of before. These were kind of Tom DeLonge inspired in the fact that they only had one single Dirty Fingers pickup in the bridge, and they came in two different colors, a solid ebony and a really cool blue. These semi-hollow guitars also had baked maple fretboards. The body lacked binding as well as F-holes. And you could find a trapeze tailpiece or a stop bar variety. I've reviewed both of them, and honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of them. I think they're really cool spec-wise, but I've never been in love with the tones of that one with the stock pickup. So now let's come back to this one. Now everything makes sense, right? You've got the body of one of those guys, the full body 335 one. But look at that, we've got a Trini Lopez style diamond hole. So I always thought, cool, a cheap way to get a growl. But you'll notice it's only on one side. But we now have a neck pickup on here, which is a common modification to do on those to make them more versatile instruments. But we still have the Dirty Fingers pickups on here. You will notice they do have a semi cover to them. We also have a stock pick guard, as well as additional controls down here. So Trent happens to like these models. He famously used these on the Tension tour, so he contacts Gibson to make him a few custom ones, in both the blue and ebony finishes. He definitely prefers that trapeze tailpiece, but look at his controls, they're way different on his personal guitars. He just has two 3-way toggle switches to turn the neck pickup on and off and the bridge pickup on and off. So those are quite interesting beasts, but apparently Gibson had a few of those on hand because he's known for being kind of a wild man on stage breaking things. So occasionally some of those unclaimed ones do show up on the market. However, then there's these bad boys, the ones with the diamond hole that was meant to be a proper signature model released to the public. Why it didn't happen, we do not know. All we know is that there were approximately 50 of these things made, and then for whatever reason the collaboration fell apart. So that could be things like he didn't like the way that these turned out, they didn't have his signature 3-way toggle switches, maybe he didn't like the way it sounded with the F-hole on it, maybe it just came down to a money type deal, or maybe he just got turned off by management. We've heard a lot of reasons why things have fallen apart in the past on various signature guitars. But the further story behind these were gifted to Gibson Memphis employees, and all of them left the factory with an engraved truss rod cover with their name on it. But here's the catch. Usually when they show up for sale on the used market, they're no longer included because the employee does not want their name sent on, or they just wanted to keep their really cool, personally engraved truss rod cover. I get it. Usually when Gibson gifts an employee a guitar, there's some sort of a contract. Like you can't sell the guitar for X number of years. So typically when these show up, it's at like guitar centers or other music stores where the person can just trade it in, not have a paper trail with their name. And that's the story of this one. I actually found it at Guitar Center. Apparently this lady, they said she worked with like the scraping of the neck binding and stuff like that. And she had like 5 or 6 of these, and this was the latest one that she had traded in. So these are just kind of a cool piece of Gibson history, an unofficial signature model that didn't quite get off the ground, but got far enough that there's actually a significant amount of these things out there. Personally, I've only ever seen black ones, so I don't think they ever had a production blue, but it might be out there. Now it seems most of these left the factory in stock basic gig bags like we have here today. However, a lot of people have upgraded them to a hard shell case over the years, or they bought one at the factory to add to it. But originally these did have a COA as well, with a personally signed by Jonathan Blocker, the general manager of Gibson Memphis, saying, hey, it's been a challenging year with short weeks and really long days. So take this guitar as a small token of our appreciation. But just as a fun story behind Trent, just in case you're not into 9 Inch Nails, did you know in Super Mario World, those fire-breathing Triceratops are actually named after him? I remember playing that game as a kid and looking at that and thinking, Reznor, what a cool name. And then to find out many years later that it's named after a musician like so many other elements in that game, such as Iggy Pop as Iggy Koopa, Lemmy of Motorhead, or Ludwig von Koopa being Beethoven. This one having the neck pickup, I'm hoping I might like it a little bit better, but hey, we'll find out. So to learn more about this one, let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench to take an individual look at those parts and specs. I'd say this one cleaned up pretty good. Let's go ahead and check out our pickups. Starting with our neck one. Looks like it says Dirty Finger Plus. Usually you have the plus in the bridge position, and it dates to October of 2013. But now the bridge pickup, you can see the plus a little bit more clearly on this one, dating to April of 2013. So he definitely wanted the hotter pickups. That's an interesting combination here. Something else that's interesting is the fact that it just says Dirty Finger. The official model name for these is Dirty Fingers, even if you're just selling a singular one. And usually Dirty Fingers actually say that on the modern ones underneath here. And as we were talking about earlier, they do have a cover, it's just the top of it was sliced out versus slicing the pole pieces for both sides. Sometimes the mod collection guys will do those nowadays. But our output jack is located on the side here, and our bridge reads 16.35, neck pickup 16.43, and the middle just for fun, 8.34. But you know what, just to be safe here, let's check to make sure this isn't a dual volume. All right, it is actually a tone. Strange, because you'd think from his signature one that he used on stage, being 2 on and off switches essentially, that he might have wanted to do that, but this was probably more so for standard production. Here's a look at our Nashville style bridge. It is full weight, PW branded. Then the tailpiece secures by 2 screws right there, and then a strap button. What you're seeing right here is where it grounds off. So that looks like so. And then here's a quick look at the actual trapeze portion. This thing just hooks onto the bottom, just like this. You just have a master volume, master tone, now with a 3-way toggle switch. That feels very clicky. This model originally shipped with a PCB system, so I'm really curious if this particular version is hand-wired due to the addition of this, or did they make a custom circuit board? We'll have to find out. Usually this model didn't get a pickguard, so we have more of a higher-end looking one that they just slapped on here like other 335s get with their whole bracket system. And melted plastic block. And if you're wondering what that cool design is, I think it's just the protective film over top of it. If you were to remove that, I think it would just be a regular pickguard. But I had noticed something I'd never seen on these before. They have an additional screw hole right there. So first I thought, that's a weird modification. Somebody like put a double pickguard system on this one at one point in time. But then I looked at other photos, and then it dawned on me why that's there. These were probably just production line ES335 Studios. And remember, those have the neck tenon cover that expands from here to there, and then another one right there. They just took them off the line, routed it for the neck pickup, gave you the old cat eye, routed it for the toggle switch right there, and said, yeah, here you go, Trent Reznor. It makes sense why we have 2 different screw holes right here. One of them is for the existing pickguard, the other one in the spot for the original tenon cover. That kind of scares me if these start to become very valuable, like they do have a decent value to them today. But you could technically take a regular one, have somebody professionally route it if you find the right dated pickup, and have somebody cut out this diamond F-hole. You could potentially make a fake Trent Reznor because it's not that many modifications. I guess be careful where you get it. I'm pretty confident with the lineage of this one, but you never know in the future. Before we move on to the neck, let's just take a look at the condition. I mean, this thing had a bunch of fingerprints and fine scratches when I had first gotten it. Now, it has been polished, but, there's only 3 things certain in life: death, taxes, and polishing swirls on ebony guitars. And that is the truth on this one. It's not perfect, but, from far away, it looks nice now. Now let's look inside the pickup cavities. Such a stark difference, I love it. You can see your maple center block here. Got your typical spruce bracing with your maple poplar maple sandwich for the top. Insanely clean routes here. And you can see we have a long neck tenon in the neck pickup cavity. What's cool about these studio models is the fact that we have routes on the back to access the electronics, so they don't actually have to route out the center block completely, put your wires through. It's just kind of like a regular Les Paul. Now moving on to the neck, this is a baked maple fretboard. Love those. They have a certain smooth quality to them that I've always been a big fan of. I would be 100% okay with Gibson bringing back baked maple. And now that people have had some time to marinate on it, I think it would be more so welcomed. On the right models, that is. But you can tell this model does have black binding, and usually black binding's pretty incognito, but at least when you have the fret nibs yet, it gives you something to be excited about, and you can see it. That's just our regular acrylic small dot inlays. And the fret's polished up beautifully. Now we've got a 1.69 inch nut width. Notice the nut is black with a 2 inch at the 12th. First fret neck depth 0.82 and about 0.9 by the 12th. There's that neck profile at the 1st fret and 12th fret. More so on the 60 side, but nice and rounded. Base of the headstock, nothing changed here, just your regular Gibson silkscreen with blacked out Grover tuners. Our truss rod's looking fine, and we have a blank cover. Moving on to the back, the fun continues inside our back control plate. So normally, unless you're talking like BB King Lucille's, you don't have a back plate, or like an ES333. Again, makes it very Tom DeLonge-like. But here you can see that maple poplar maple sandwich a little bit clearer, your maple center block, then the spruce bracing on the top and bottom sides of that, and then your kerfed edges. But the answer to our question earlier is yes, it still utilizes a PCB. So that would explain why this toggle switch feels so significantly different from regular Switchcraft ones, because it's not one. But check this out, this pickup is labeled bridge, and this pickup is labeled bridge. So if you didn't believe me that there was a faded plus on that neck pickup, there you go. They have 2 bridge pickups in here. So now I'm curious, is that a spec that he wanted it, or is this just a mistake example? So if you happen to own one of these, feel free to pop your pickups and see, or at least your back plate, see if both of them are labeled bridge. But other than that, nothing too much to go over on the back, except for your strap button right here, and at the base of the heel. And just like the top, it's got scratches, polishing swirls, all that good stuff. Not perfect, but it looks good from a couple feet away. Now on these studio models, it's very common to get seam lines showing, and sometimes you get like a little bit of delamination of the lacquer. This one's honestly pretty good. Most 335 styled instruments get binding. In fact, it's really uncommon for an unbound model. That's kind of what makes these special. If you ever see like a seam line showing between where the top gets joined to the body, don't be too scared about that. Running up the backside of the neck, nothing too crazy here. There's our black Grover tuners, and then our serial number of 12353730, made in 2013. But this one definitely has some hanger rash, and a pretty prominent nut outline. You can tell it stands out just a little bit proud, that's why that line has occurred. Sadly, it's worse on the side that you see while you play. All said and done, it's looking pretty slick, and it weighs 8 pounds, 6.9 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how this particular version sounds. To say, I'm not surprised. It's a very hot, chuggy guitar. It's got this really evil vibe to it. I just want to live in the 3 to 7 fret area. Not gonna lie, never really liked this guitar, the way it sounds, the whole 335 studio thing. Adding that neck pickup and like trying to do some Dave Grohl stuff and obviously some Trent Reznor as well, I really like this particular one. I was kind of scared about these Dirty Fingers pickups, but maybe it's just because I know how to work them now. Just use your volume and tone controls. You can go from this to there we go, the Trent Reznor ES335 Studio. Didn't quite make it to production, but man, they should have. This is miles better than the production ones. I know I've been saying, they were never my favorite tone-wise, but I always thought the whole unbound look with the solid color finish just has a really cool aesthetic. And they were on to something here. They just didn't quite get it off the floor. I would love to see something like this from Gibson in the future, even if it's not necessarily Trent Reznor. This particular combination works incredibly well in my opinion. So much, in fact, that I just bought this one thinking, yeah, buy, review, document, sell. But I easily just had the most fun I've had playing guitar in a good while. This particular one speaks to me. I'm going to hold on to it because there is something special to this. It makes me want to play some nice, heavy, chuggy stuff, and it actually sounds pretty good when you clean it up as well. So I'll mark this one under surprisingly good, even if it is a dust and fingerprint and scratch magnet. All right, I hope you enjoy your newfound guitar knowledge. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.